Hello and welcome to Screen Pop. My name's Tom, and today I will be going over my Blu-ray collection of Godzilla movies. Now, the trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong just dropped like a couple weeks ago, and I have to confess I have watched it an embarrassing amount of times. I am so stoked for that movie. I think it's gonna be, I don't think it's gonna disappoint at all. Maybe I'm overhyping it, but I just can't wait to see these two titans go to battle for the first time since 1962. I'm such a Godzilla fan. I'm Team Godzilla. I'm definitely rooting for him to win, but we all know it's going to be a draw, right? So, in anticipation of Godzilla vs. Kong, I figured I would go over my Blu-ray collection of Godzilla movies and just give my general thoughts on the films, the ones I've seen at least. I haven't seen every Godzilla film, and I'm also missing some notable entries from my collection. So if you're like a Godzilla purist or a hardcore fan, I'm sorry to disappoint. I haven't seen every movie. I'm not super knowledgeable on like all the Godzilla lore, but I think I know more than the average moviegoer. Because I've just been a Godzilla fan since I was a kid, man. I watched, my entry was that 98 Roland Emmerich movie, which was not good, but the design of Godzilla at the time as a kid, I liked. I really dug this toy. It had the roar. Yeah, not a good movie. The animated series was better for some reason, but not a good movie. But still, that was my entry point to the Godzilla franchise. And then after that, I watched Showa-Era films, and my love for Godzilla just grew from there. So, well, let's start off. For those who don't know, Godzilla films are broken up into different eras, named after the Emperor of Japan at the time. So, we've got the Showa era, which runs from 1954 through 1975. And then we have the Heisei era of films, which were the 80s and the 90s. Then next we have the Millennium era films, which are the early 2000s. And the Reiwa period, which just started in 2016 with Shin Godzilla. Then on the American side of things, we have the Legendary Pictures, Warner Brothers, MonsterVerse movies that started in 2014 with Godzilla, and then Kong Skull Island in 2017, and then 2019's King of the Monsters, all leading up to Godzilla vs. Kong. And I hope there are more MonsterVerse movies after this. I think it would be a shame if they end the MonsterVerse after Godzilla vs. Kong. I think there's so much more you could do. You could bring back certain Showa-era kaiju to fight Godzilla or Kong in their separate movies going forward. So yeah, I really hope the franchise keeps going. So yeah, let's get into it. We'll start with the Showa era, and this is from the Criterion collection. Spine number 1000, as you can see right there. I think, what's that focus? I think that's pretty cool that they saved the 1000th spine number for the Big G himself. Very fitting. It's a 15 movie collection. It's got all the movies from 1954 through 1975, and it's got all the discs in the back. So let's dive into this, shall we? I'm gonna put it down on the table because it's a little hard to hold it up, but I definitely want to show you guys the art. So let's take a look, shall we? All right, so here we've got the front cover with an up-close shot of Godzilla. And I like that he's mid-roar. I like that his roar is colorized with the blue and yellow. I think that's really cool. Love the colors in this. Love how vibrant it is. Very pop art style. Reminds me of Andy Warhol a bit. Let's open it up. Yeah, here we've got an amazing, beautiful 2-page piece of artwork here. I would love this as a poster. Once again, I love the pink, the yellows, the blues. We've got Godzilla wreaking havoc on a city, utter destruction below him, the city's on fire, planes and helicopters rushing to intercept him. I mean, it's your typical Godzilla destruction scene summed up in one beautiful image. Gotta love it. All right, next we got the table of contents and then a Reign of Destruction essay. discussing the significance and history of Godzilla throughout the years, particularly the Showa-Era. So lots of good reading material here. Okay, so next we have the individual films themselves. So each film in the collection comes with its own original art on the right side, done by a different artist each time, which is really cool. And then on the left, you get an essay explaining the history and significance of each film. So we have the 1954 original, Godzilla, black and white, directed by Ishiro Honda. And what else is there to say about this movie? It is a stone cold classic. My favorite monster movie, my favorite monster character. But it's the one that birthed, this whole franchise, So if there's one Godzilla movie you ever see, make sure it's the original. It's such a powerful story. It's dark, it's depressing, it's gloomy. It's so different from other Godzilla movies that followed it. It has a powerful anti-war message and a sympathetic protagonist in Serizawa. And I just love this movie. I want to rewatch it again, because the last time I saw it was on HBO Max. I didn't have this Blu-ray yet, so I want to see it with better quality. So definitely going to rewatch this. And then here we've got the art style. We've got the art piece here. We got Godzilla. Looks like he's chomping on a train and wrecking a building. So next up we got Godzilla Raids Again. This was the one that introduced Anguirus. The movie itself was kind of a rush job, and it's not particularly memorable. I don't remember much about it. I hardly even remember the fight. And it was the last Godzilla film in black and white before they switched to color. So yeah, that's Godzilla Raids Again. Next up, we've got King Kong versus Godzilla. Now this is awesome. I love that they're in front of Mount Fuji, I guess, and he's just tossing Godzilla around like it's nothing. It's like Hulk tossing Loki in Avengers or something. But just his expression, he's like, oh, fuck. I love it. Now, the movie itself is, it's all right. The story works for what it is, for what they had to do to bring Kong to Japan to fight Godzilla. I will say I did not like Kong's design. Like, his suit has always looked so cheap to me. I don't know why that was the final design for this movie. I mean, I know they were on a budget, probably, but the costume could have been better. But the fight scene itself is pretty awesome, and they're just wailing on each other. They go back and forth. There's a really memorable scene where King Kong shoves a tree down Godzilla's throat, and then Godzilla spits it back out and burns it. I love that, and I really hope that they pay homage to that in some way in Godzilla vs. Kong. We'll see. All right, next up we got Mothra vs. Godzilla, 1964. And here we've got Mothra on Godzilla's head. I guess she's attacking him. He doesn't look too annoyed by it, though. But this is beautiful art. Mothra does attack his head in the movie. Mothra always attacks his head. So this was the first Godzilla movie from the Showa era that I ever saw from beginning to end. So it's always going to have a special place in my heart for that. But yeah, I really like Mothra as a character. And this has one of the clumsiest Godzillas. He's like stumbling around, tripping on stuff, and like every time he gets taken out, like he's always thrashing around wildly. I think it's funny. So yeah, Mothra vs. Godzilla. This is one of my favorites from this era, definitely. Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. Really interesting choice here. It reminds me of like Aztec or Mayan style, kind of. Maybe I'm wrong there. But here we've got the three heads of Ghidorah wrapped around Godzilla, and it's pretty cool. The movie itself is pretty good. I do remember this was the introduction of King Ghidorah, and then him, Rodan, and Mothra all fight him. And the fight's pretty memorable. The story itself, I think, involved like an assassination plot, and I can't remember being too engaged with it, but it's worth watching for the monster fights for sure. And it's the introduction of King Ghidorah, who is Godzilla's nemesis, so it's very important for that. All right, next up, we've got Invasion of Astro Monster. So this is where Godzilla started to get a little bit goofy, and I love that they take pride in that by having his victory dance in the art, because this is he does this after chasing Ghidorah off. He jumps up and down while roaring. It's hilarious. The movie itself is pretty good. It's got it focuses on two astronauts. One of them's an American, who I assume was brought in for international appeal. But he has good chemistry with the Japanese cast. And the story, I think, was the introduction of the alien race known as the Xilians. Yeah, this is just a really funny image that actually perfectly sums up the movie. We've got the UFOs, we've got the rocket ship, we've got Rodan, and then King Ghidorah, Godzilla doing his victory dance. Invasion of Astro Monster, pretty fun time. I would recommend it. Ebirah, Horror of the Deep. I have not seen this one. But here we've got Godzilla, Mothra, and Ebirah himself, I assume, because he's like a giant lobster, and he's the antagonist of the movie. Can't speak much more about it. I have not seen it. Son of Godzilla. There he is right there. I haven't seen this one either. The whole concept of Godzilla having a child never appealed to me, so maybe that's why. But I hear some people really like this one, so perhaps I'll check it out soon. Destroy All Monsters. Look at this. This is so colorful and vibrant, and you have so much going on here. Everyone's attacking Ghidorah, the three heads, and then you got all the monsters. You got a jet. The tanks are battling each of the monsters, if you can see. Yeah, Destroy All Monsters was like the Avengers Endgame of its time. This movie just brought a shit ton of monsters together on Monster Island and had them all duke it out against King Ghidorah, who is completely outnumbered in this movie. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I can't remember the story leading up to the final. I just remember the Monster Island fight scene, but I think that makes the movie worthwhile. I'll have to rewatch it. All Monsters Attack. I've never seen this one. I heard that this movie takes place inside this kid's head. Perhaps I'm wrong. Maybe that's a different movie. But yeah, I hear not so good things about this, but who knows? Maybe I'll eventually check it out. Godzilla vs. Ghidorah. So I haven't seen this one either, but I do intend to check it out. I know that he fights a smog monster. Really dig the art here. I like the detail of the city and the people on the streets just completely helpless as these two kaiju duke it out. And then you got a lot of billboards going around here. Lots of cutesy characters. Interesting. Godzilla vs. Gigan. This is the introduction of Gigan, and that's pretty much all I can say about it. I don't remember much. Maybe I haven't seen it all the way through. But I like Gigan. Godzilla vs. Megalon. So Gigan returns for this one. And it's him and Megalon against Godzilla and Jet Jaguar here, who's like an Ultraman ripoff. So this is like one of the most childish Godzilla movies, but it's also really fun if you can get past the silliness. The fight between the four monsters when it's 2v2 is pretty entertaining, and Godzilla does this dropkick attack, which has been made into like a meme. It's so funny, it's so ridiculous. It doesn't it doesn't make sense or fit the movie at all, but yeah, if you're down for some silly Godzilla, I would check out Godzilla vs. Megalon for sure. Now, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. I like this. I like I like the blue sky. I like the detail on Mechagodzilla. I like King Caesar in the background, and then you can see that Godzilla's in the foreground. We're beneath him, I guess, and he's about to do battle with Mechagodzilla while King Caesar looks on. So this is probably my favorite Showa-Era Godzilla film. I'm a little biased because Mechagodzilla is my favorite Godzilla adversary. But this movie itself is very entertaining. It's got it all. It's dripping with 70s style. It's got a jazzy soundtrack. It's got aliens who turn into apes when they die for no reason, really. And then you have Mechagodzilla himself. You got King Caesar too, who's introduced in this movie, I believe. He gets woken up by a pop song just because. And then Mechagodzilla himself is OP as fuck in this movie. I will never get tired of watching Mechagodzilla unleash all his weapons at the same time. All right, finally we have Terror of Mechagodzilla. This one's okay. I don't like it as much as the previous one. It's more serious in nature. I can't remember, Titanosaurus, was that his name? Hold on. Yeah, Titanosaurus. He's actually pretty cool for being introduced in this movie. He's actually a pretty cool kaiju. And then you have Mechagodzilla doing his thing again. But it's a little repetitive after just seeing the last movie. Really cool art though. I like how you have all the words here for the sound effects of what's going on. Okay, so those are all the individual films, and then we get to the discs themselves. And as you can see, they are divided up. We've got, looks like 2 to 3 movies per disc, with the exception being Godzilla having its own disc, and then the special features having their own disc, which is fitting. Once again, it's the same art style from the first 2 front pages. And then we've got the back. This resembles the ending of Terror of Mechagodzilla, which was a fitting end to the Showa era. Godzilla walking off into the ocean, back to where he came from, ready for more adventures. And this is a fitting back cover image. I really like it. I really like how the water is reminiscent. It reminds me of like Japanese art, the way they paint the water. I don't know. Water seems a little shallow though. Usually he's like waist high. That's just how big he is though. Great image, love it. And that is the Showa era. All right, so up next I've got a Toho double feature of 2 Millennium era movies. We've got Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. So this first one, which I'll call GMK for short, is one of my favorites. It is a very mystical take on the kaiju, and Godzilla's pure evil in this one. He's got like these white eyes, which looks a little silly at times, but also terrifying in other shots. You got Mothra and King Ghidorah and Baragon doing poor Baragon's not in the title, but Baragon's cute. He puts up a good fight, but he gets stomped by Godzilla pretty early on. But yeah, great action, great protagonist, great story. This is definitely one of the top 10 Godzilla movies, top 5. It breaks the top 5 for me personally. Next up, we've got Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. This one took an interesting concept. It basically, this is a new Godzilla, a younger Godzilla, and then Mechagodzilla is made up of the bones of the original 1954 Godzilla. So if you remember, when they kill Godzilla at the end of the film, spoilers, but come on, 1954. When they kill Godzilla at the end of the film, they basically took his skeleton and put it inside Mechagodzilla. And they use Mechagodzilla to fight against Godzilla when he's destroying Japan again. But Mechagodzilla like spazzes out because it has the memories of the original Godzilla, and then it just goes crazy and like starts unleashing havoc on the city. But it's got a pretty good protagonist. It's very anime influenced. I feel like it feels like watching like a Gundam show or Evangelion or something like that. Yeah, really good, and probably, while not my favorite Mechagodzilla movie, it definitely has my favorite Mechagodzilla design in it. And his name is Kiryu, because they don't call him Mechagodzilla, they call him Kiryu in this one, for whatever reason. So next we've got another double feature from the Millennium Era, Godzilla, Tokyo S.O.S, and Godzilla Final Wars. Now, Tokyo S.O.S takes place, it's a sequel, it's an immediate sequel to Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, so they bring Kiryu back, but this time Mothra she's trying to tell the humans to return Godzilla's bones to the sea, because they're fucking with nature by bringing him back to life and all that. So Mothra gets in on the action, and then yeah, it was pretty good, but not as memorable. It has a better final fight, I would say, because it's got so much kaiju action, but story-wise, I think the previous film told a better story. But Tokyo S.O.S is definitely worth watching. It's very standard Godzilla movie, I would say. And then Godzilla Final Wars is utter insanity. This movie is balls to the wall, zany, ridiculous action. It came out in the early 2000s when everyone is trying to be the Matrix. So you get like a lot of Matrix style action scenes. The Zillions are like wearing leather. And the action is just non-stop once it starts. And it's so ridiculous, so over the top, yet so damn entertaining that I can't really be mad at it for its faults, because it's not a good movie. It's a mess of a movie, all things considered, but it's one of the most entertaining, and I just would not recommend it for the uninitiated. But if you really love Godzilla and want to see Godzilla celebrated with everything but the kitchen sink thrown in, then definitely check out Final Wars. Okay, so next we have Shin Godzilla. This came out in 2016 and was basically a reboot, kind of, to Godzilla as a whole. They basically, the 1954 movie never happened, so this is a brand new Godzilla. It's his first time ever making contact in Japan, and the government has to figure out how to respond to him. And respond they do by getting into a lot of meetings and arguments, and you know, it's a lot of scenes of people having to cut through red tape, and I understand that has polarized some people to the movie because they say, oh, those scenes are boring, but I don't know, I thought those scenes flowed well. But Godzilla himself looks crazy in this movie. So first of all, he evolves, so he has like a different form when he first comes on shore, and then he evolves as he goes along. As he destroys the city, he evolves, and then he eventually becomes the more familiar Godzilla that we know, but he still looks very different. His face is very different. He's got a lot of red. His arms are like locked into place like this, and he even has some new powers, which I will not spoil here. But if you want to see a new, radical, brave, honestly, take on Godzilla, I would highly recommend this. It's a polarizing film, here in the West at least, but I think this is really, really quality stuff. It's actually like a good movie, like the 1954 original. Like, it's a real film. Yeah, so Shin Godzilla comes highly recommended. All right, and finally we have 2019's Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Now this is the latest movie in the Monsterverse. It's preceding Godzilla vs. Kong, and it was shredded by critics when it came out, but loved by audiences. At least Godzilla fans, loved by Godzilla fans. When I first saw it, I was somewhere in between. I think it's a very flawed movie, particularly the human characters. The human drama doesn't resonate with me, and the dialogue can be pretty bad at times. But the action's spectacular. The kaiju all look amazing when you can see them, because they do that thing where they shroud a lot of the visuals in darkness, not to the extent of the 2014 movie, but they definitely have like a lot of CGI weather effects, like blizzards, storms, rain and explosions and stuff. So like it kind of obscures the vision of the monsters, but it's lit in a way where you can actually more clearly see it than the 2014 movies. So yeah, I would say there's some stunning visuals in here, great action, and the soundtrack by Bear McCreary is phenomenal. The score for this, it carries the movie at certain points. Bear McCreary did the score for God of War, and he won an award for it. And he definitely brings some of that God of War influence to the music for this movie, because he brings back themes, like classic Godzilla themes, such as the main theme and Mothra's theme. But then he also comes up with new themes for Rodan and King Ghidorah, and he remixes things by adding a lot of these tribal chants. It just sounds cool. I'm going off on the soundtrack, but I really like the soundtrack. One cool thing about this Blu-ray is that it has, I don't know if you can see the special features. It doesn't even list them all, but it has a generous helping of special features, which for modern Blu-ray, I mean, I don't collect as much physical media these days, but it took me back to the old DVD days where people actually put effort into their special features. So it's even got a commentary track, which I'll have to check out. But yeah, it's got some really good special features, and I've watched them all except the commentary track. So this is, if you're a Godzilla fan, check out King of the Monsters. If you're undecided on this movie, check it out, make up your mind for yourself. But it does not deserve that 43% or whatever that's on Rotten Tomatoes. I think the critics who are reviewing this movie weren't reviewing it as a Godzilla movie. This isn't, you can't judge this like any other action movie. You have to judge it like a Godzilla movie. And for what I can understand, they basically did a modern version of this era of films. And for that, I applaud them for the effort. It's a solid effort, and flawed as it is, I find it to be pretty rewatchable. And so it's worth owning on Blu-ray. All right, so those are my Godzilla movies. Which ones are your favorites? Let me know in the comments down below. There's a lot of movies that I haven't seen, and there's more that I want to get my hands on, particularly the Heisei era films. I've never seen a Heisei era film. I know that's like sacrilege to Godzilla fans, because I hear Godzilla vs. Biollante, Godzilla vs. Destroya are some of the best. And so I need to get my hands on those films, but they're very hard to find on Blu-ray. I don't know if it's a rights issue or what, but when I search for them, they're either not available or severely overpriced. Like the Biollante movie was like $200 for a Blu-ray. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Not gonna pay that. So here's hoping that Criterion or maybe some other company releases a set like the Showa collection. I hope they release a set of the Heisei era films. A Millennium set would be cool too, but I think there's more pressure on them to do the Heisei era films, because I think a lot of people are clamoring to get their hands on those, especially with Godzilla vs. Kong coming up. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.